So for the last 10 years or so, a creeping plague has spread across the internet. It's seeped into our countries, our politics, and even into our homes. It's flowed like poison through the media that we consume, yet it's not what you think. I'm your archivist, and today we're going to prove that wokeness isn't killing our favorite franchises. So first and foremost, we need to create some working definitions to ensure that there's no confusion here. I'm not going to be using the boogeyman term that Fox News uses as they speak out to their brainwashed boomer masses. But before I do that, I'm going to call back to the original usage of the phrase. Being woke was originally a term used within American communities of African descent. It was meant to remind each other to stay awake to their oppression. A great video by Wisecrack covers this in great detail, and I'll have it listed in the... Dear God, it's in the description below. Alright, so we all know that throughout a lot of American history, these communities have suffered. A lot has been stolen from them. To me, the fact that their term woke has been transformed into its current usage is actually really disgusting. Especially when you see how these mentally ill individuals on Twitter have appropriated it. Now, that's an interesting term, because that's when you see them throwing around on Twitter all the time. They appropriated this, they appropriated that. Well, there's actually a concept called internalizing the colonizer. And I think it fits perfectly for those on Twitter who do this kind of crap. This concept often means that people have been colonized and take on the identity of those who have colonized them. I like to use this to explain radicals in various groups. For instance, you could take feminists. There are those who complain that the patriarchy is vile and violent. And yet, how do they act? Vile and violent. In doing this, they're giving good feminists a bad name. Thus, they have internalized the colonizer. This concept perfectly applies to those people on Twitter who have co-opted the concept of wokeness. They have stolen a minorities concept, rebranded it for their own agenda and purpose, and are now using it to wage a culture war against anyone they see as the enemy. They claim anyone who's against their cause is hostile, bigoted, violent, sexist, racist, all the isms. Yet, they've once again internalized the colonizer. They become the very thing they swore to kill. In a recent video, Asman has made mention the fact that people are using this to cover up the fact that they're actually racist, and I completely agree with him. Okay, so let's create two forms of wokeness. Unfortunately, due to the fact that wokeness has become so warped in the modern time, I simply can't use the old form along with the new. It doesn't make sense anymore. So the form that seems to be the most prevalent plague and is used for virtue points, points that can't even be redeemed for anything, imagine that, will be called appropriated wokeness. I think it's fitting that these are the people constantly crying out and screaming at the top of their lungs about appropriation, and yet they are the appropriators. The other I'm going to simply refer to as genuine wokeness. Alright, with our definitions out of the way, let's discuss the popular phrase, go woke, go broke. So it was actually this phrase that sprouted the idea for this video. While I do agree with it, something at the back of my head has always gnawed at me. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that, well, it lacked subtlety and nuance. Not that I really think that such a simple phrase, especially one that rhymes and is made of 4 words, could actually handle the complexities of life. So, the unfortunate truth is that the appropriated wokeness was stolen from black communities and has been warped to include every special interest minority group possible. Let's play a game real quick. If your movie, game, or story has any of these, they might be woke. The main character is anything other than a white male. Your character is anything other than straight. Your female characters are strong and have a voice. Your characters are non-binary. Race or sexuality is made the center point of a character. Pronoun usage of any kind. Characters undergo, let's call it aesthetic re-education training. Anything that puts a political message in it, diversity in general, and recasting characters for different genders or races. While this is typically accurate for the average person, I do find it sad that, once again, a minority who has suffered a whole lot of crap has once again had something taken from them. And it's all in the supposed greater good. So, let's get down to the truth of it. For a long time, we've seen movies like The Marvels, Ghostbusters: The Feminine Haunting, Wonder Woman 1984, and the Star Wars sequel trilogy or Matrix Resurrections. We've seen these all bomb. We've also seen games such as Forspoken, Mass Effect Andromeda, Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad. These have all failed. While some in the early days didn't fail, I believe this was due to consumer good faith that has over time eroded. And without that good faith, well, we're seeing them fail quite spectacularly. This sort of appropriated wokeness has caused a myriad of problems. Some have even become more radicalized and have seized upon the opportunity of shaping the world in their own image. By the way, that's what the devil's doing in the Bible. He wants to recreate things in his own image. Do with that what you will. The controversies with localizers and Sweet Baby Inc. are proof of this. We'll get to their sins in just a little bit. On the flip side, to those who don't particularly appreciate this kind of behavior, it's worn us down. The goodwill that was once there, that was earned, is gone and spent. People preemptively attack anything that might have any of the above criteria. It has led to a deepening divide in the culture that has only grown more hostile over time. It has also allowed certain content creators to thrive on this hate mob. Not that that isn't happening on the other side, but I do find the fact that people who have a platform of hate can not only survive but also thrive is a clear indictment of our culture's current state. The effects of appropriated wokeness are like a cancer on our society. Yet, I have a counterpoint to offer. Now, while there's not much complexity and nuance for the go woke, go broke, going woke doesn't always make you go broke. Movies such as Black Panther, Wonder Woman, the original, not the rapey one, Get Out, Black Klansman, all these have succeeded. Characters such as Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury are absolutely beloved, and by the way, his version of Nick Fury is my handcanon for that character perpetually. Particularly, I want to focus on Black Panther. If there was ever a woke movie that should have failed, it was Black Panther. If you listen to Twitter and mainstream media, you'll get this impression that Americans just hate minorities, especially those white folks. Yet, Black Panther was a smashing success. People of all ages, ethnic groups, genders, various other political markers loved the movie. You could say the general sentiment of the movie, the vibe check if you will, were 2 thumbs way up. So how was it that something so different from the mainstream did so well? That's the secret you'll have to wait for. Only a couple more minutes. This video hopefully is going to be pretty short. For the moment, let's look back at older movies that would have been considered woke. How about the Blade trilogy? A black protagonist. Aliens, strong female protagonist. Jurassic Park, strong female character. Mulan, strong female protagonist. By the way, also the original cartoon, not the one that supported genocide. How about Remember the Titans? It's literally 2 diverse groups that were at each other's throat coming together. And there are so many others. In video games, we have success stories. Oh my god. In video games, we have success stories, such as Baldur's Gate 3, God of War 4 and Ragnarok, and Cyberpunk 2077. Now, a quick clarification on God of War. Apparently, people don't like the fact that he's grown up and matured and isn't like banging women in just casually anymore. I find that to be so weird and childish. It's like, yes, I thought it was cool when I was 15. I'm 30 now. I much prefer God of War 4 and Ragnarok. Take that with whatever you will. Anyways, these are all games that are woke themes in them, but are extremely successful. So, with that being said, I believe that I've established at least somewhat of an indictment for the concept of go woke, go broke. At least enough for us to have a conversation around. So, let's pause right there and let's take a moment to reflect. What's the difference between the games and movies that have failed and those that have succeeded? Go ahead. I'll wait. I literally exist in a liminal space when you pause the video, so it's all good. Alright, so let's see if our answers match up. The ones that are appropriated wokeness, those are forced. They're propaganda. They're designed to mark checklists, not create inclusivity. The whole controversy around the localizers could literally be summed up as white people appropriating a culture's media and then uncreatively shoving their bullshit into it and then expecting consumers to eat it and thank them. Like, they literally think that they're better than the European colonizers they purport to hate. Take the minute and just thank God that you have a working brain. What gets even weirder is that there are some people that actually thank them for this. Again, if you see these people, see if they have a Twitter, check their bio. If they have more mental illnesses than the allotted space allows, then just easily discount their opinion. Trust me, this will save you a lot of headache. Now, the newest controversy with Crybaby, god damn it. Listen, when you go to name your company, don't name it something stupid like Sweet Baby. Be cool, be hip, do something like Helldivers did. Manage democracy. How freaking dystopian and cool does that sound? Why don't you try something like managed inclusivity? At least people would say you're dystopian in a cool way. Rant aside, Sweet Baby Inc. The reason people are upset with them and are targeting them, it's not because they tried to be inclusive. It's because they had an agenda. You can tell in the way that the dialogue sounds in the games that they've had their grotesque fingers in. It's forced. It's preachy. It's pushy. No real human would say that, and that's the point. No real human. You see, the reason that Black Panther or Baldur's Gate 3 works is because these movies or games are genuine. These characters exist beyond a checklist of virtue points. They are more than their gender identity or their sexuality. I've always found it quite distasteful that media takes people who are in the LGBTQ group and makes their sexuality their identity. It's the same as taking a straight man who's always horny and sees women as objects. They're disgusting characters. They should be there to be punching bags. I don't believe the majority of people are obsessed with those things all the time. But yet, that's what media presents to us. They treat these forced things that no rational, mature human is like, and they treat them as though these are reality. Universally. They take the complexity of human beings and they reduce them to stereotypes. Which, by the way, is pretty racist, sexist, prejudiced, or whatever ism or ist that you want to add. Yet, genuine wokeness doesn't browbeat you, but instead shows you what a person is like, how they feel, what they think, how they experience things. They feel real to you. Their characters make sense in the context of media and the world building within it. These characters aren't a part of an exterior agenda, but are a part of an interior and interconnected world that you get the pleasure of experiencing. You see, genuine experience is something that can't be manufactured. It can't be fit into a checklist. It can't be taught. But it can be felt by the audience. It's something that invites the audience in, and instead of forcing them to sit down and endure a punishing sermon, it instead focuses on the shared human experience. It becomes relatable. It becomes insightful. You leave knowing something about the other person that you yourself had never experienced or would have never known. Yet it feels natural and real to you. And yet, this can come from woke categories such as ethics, gender, or sexual identity. But it doesn't seem to be necessarily focused on that. I mean, look at Black Panther. They literally said the thing. Black people are being oppressed by the government. Wow. That's literally being woke. Yet everyone loved Killmonger. That villain was epic and awesome, and we need justice for Killmonger. In my opinion, genuine wokeness works to show the differences between us and others through subtle means while focusing on the common shared human experience. For instance, I have no concept of being a black warrior prince set to inherit a throne, but I know what it's like to strive, to do the right thing and fail. I know what it's like to face what seems like impossible odds and have to get back up. Black Panther might not be a part of my ethnic group, but damn do I relate to him. Which is sad considering how many movies and games supposedly take place in America, my home country, and I often can't relate to their characters. Appropriated wokeness tries to celebrate only the differences, but weirdly enough, it creates a sort of difference-ism. And I think that's the crux of the problem. Humans are tribal. We have in-groups and out-groups. And dear God, this idiotic concept has no greater exemplification than in the console wars. I mean, seriously, imagine being in your 30s and shilling out for a company who doesn't even know who you are outside your purchase history and your credit card number, and you're fighting on their behalf. Like, God, humans are fucking weird. No. Focusing on differences helps to reinforce tribalism. I believe that's why the modern wokeness movement has led to all sorts of disastrous problems. In fact, I would dare say that it is a cultural crisis. It's leading us down a road that not only is going to make people more bigoted, but also more insular. There are plenty of scientific studies that have shown that diverse groups tend to be more creative, better at solving problems, and I believe that's simply due to the fact that you have a more diverse range of experience. That's kind of a no-brainer. Which, strangely enough, but I think it makes total sense, is the fact that you have studies that show that diversity, when not handled correctly, can actually create an increase in racism and prejudice. I've seen this firsthand. The study's conclusions were that if you focus on differences, you just create justifications for those who have narrow-minded problems. So there was one interesting study that I ran across that talked about how scientists were dealing with people who had a tendency towards authoritarian mindsets. So, okay, to be authoritarian, you have to have a hierarchy, right? That's literally how they work. So these people had a hierarchy in their mind, and yes, I do mean racially. But yet, there was a sudden shift when the scientists came in and told these people that NASA had found life on another planet, and that life looked nothing like us. It had nothing in the concept of humanoid, right? Well, this sudden intense difference helped to contrast the weak differences that we see in each other. It was reported that their mindset shifted rapidly under this new information, literally meaning because there is an other or a different thing that's so radically different, the differences between us suddenly look pale in comparison. But do please note that the alien life that was reported was actually a lie to see how these people would react. They still haven't discovered my hidden museum. Everything is great. Alright. So, let's say you want to make a movie, a video game, or write a story. Here's my advice. Do not, under any circumstance, hire these diversity firms. Well, that is, unless you want to fail. There are too many passionate, talented people out there who will pour their time and energy into your project and do it justice. This goes triple true if you're dealing with an already established IP. In my opinion, what you should do is follow early Marvel's philosophy. Find qualified artists and trust them. You want diversity? Find diverse and qualified voices and have them use their experience to deepen your stories. These people will have the insight and the know-how to give you genuine, authentic experiences that will flow into your story's world and be able to touch on woke topics. Yet it won't feel ham-fisted or woke. In fact, people might actually praise you. Remember, don't try to tick off a box, but find the perfect person to fit that position. Think about Nick Fury. The man is epic and perfect because Samuel L. Jackson. It just works. And in a kind of funny and counterintuitive way, you're actually doing the modern woke ideal in getting more diverse experiences and people onto the stage. Funny how doing the right thing is pretty simple and common sense until you start complicating it with horrible worldviews, mental illnesses, and politics. Alright, so there you go. It's not wokeness per se that's destroying our movies, games, and franchises. Instead, it's people who have agenda, and they're trying to force that agenda down our throat and make us see the world the way they see it. Diversity can be a wonderful thing, but like most things in life, it's a two-edged sword. Alright, that's it. That's all I got. Check out some of my other videos, especially my stories if you like that sort of thing. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy this, and I'll see you next time. Archivist out.